13th and sharing your participation on social media using the hashtag Operation Greenlight. You can visit the county's Veteran Services page for more information. The requested action is to approve the resolution and order proclaiming Clatsop County's participation in Operation Greenlight for veterans from November 7th, 2022 through November 13th, 2022.
Great. Thank you, Veteran Services Officer Davis. This is a great idea. Any comments, questions, or are we ready for the motion?
I'm ready to make the motion, Mr. Chair. In honor of my sweet husband, who retired after 28 and a half years in the United States Air Force as an officer and a gentleman, it's my privilege to move to approve the resolution and order proclaiming Clatsop County's participation in Operation Greenlight for veterans from November 7th, 2022 through November 13, 2022, and authorize the chair to read, then sign the proclamation.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution and order proclaiming Clatsop County's participation in Operation Greenlight for veterans from November 7th, 2022 through November 13th, 2022, and authorize the chair to read, then sign the proclamation. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. And I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. In the matter of proclaiming Clatsop County participation in Operation Greenlight for veterans to be November 7th through November 13th, 2022. Whereas the residents of Clatsop County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all who have selflessly served the United States and the armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of each person who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the way of life enjoyed by the local community. And whereas Clatsop County seeks to honor these individuals who have paid the high price for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, and whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future, and whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life. And whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas Clatsop County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted. And whereas Operation Greenlight for veterans in Clatsop County is an initiative to let the local veteran community know that they are seen, appreciated, and supported by illuminating buildings green. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that Clatsop County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim Clatsop County's participation in Operation Greenlight for veterans. And we invite all residents and local public, private, and nonprofit community partners to honor the service and sacrifice of our neighbors in uniform that have transitioned from active service to civilian life and share their gratitude for their local veteran community by displaying a green light outside their place of business or residence from November 7th, 2022 through November 13th, 2022. Dated this 26th day of October, 2022, the Board of Clatsop County Commissioners for Clatsop County. Thank you very much, Josh. We really appreciate all your work on behalf of veterans.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great event.
Can I say something real fast? I just want to say I hear a lot of amazing things about the efforts you're doing in our community, and it's really nice to be able to be confident when I refer people to you. I think it's been 2 years since you've been with us.
Just about a year and a half.
Yeah.
I came June of 2021.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
people know your name, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I hear the same, and it's such a needed service, so thank you for everything you're doing. Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Thank you all.
Repeat, yes. Oh, Commissioner Webb has her hand.
Oh, Commissioner Webb.
Yeah, I'd like to also say thank you, Josh, for all the hard work and great energy you've put into this job. But I'd also like to remind everybody that a great many of the people who serve our country wear blue. Thank you.
Yes, well said. Thank you, Commissioner Webb. Thank you, Commissioner Webb. Yep. We'll move on to the next item, which is business from the public. This is an opportunity for anyone to give a 2-minute presentation about any item on the agenda, except for public hearings, or any topic of county concern that is not on the agenda. Clerk of the board, has any member of the public signed up to speak remotely? How about remotely first?
No,
Okay.
other than the ones we have here.
Okay, and then we have 3 people that have to speak. Okay, when I call your name, you can come forward and give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. First is Cindy Olson.
Hi, Cindy Olson, 1579 South Wahana. This is about elections and,
We can't hear her if she doesn't
If you
use the
want to
mic.
go
Go ahead
ahead,
and have a seat.
go ahead and have a seat, and then you can talk right into the microphone there. It's easy to hear.
there's a largely overlooked hacking target that could help those who want to sow doubt about vote tallies in the November midterms. Cellular modems and transmit unofficial election night results. The modems, which send vote data from precincts to central offices using cell phone networks, help election officials satisfy the public's demand for rapid results. But putting any networking connections on an election system opens up new ways to attack it that don't require physical access to machines, and security experts say the risks aren't worth the rewards. On an election night, May 17th, 2022, the county clerk came very agitated and kept going back and forth from her laptop to cell phone on the commissioner's cabinet table just past us, tabulator, to a back room in the Boynton building. She finally found something and plugged it into her laptop. She explained later it was a device to report the election count to the SOS. It didn't occur to me till recently that she shouldn't have had her cell phone, laptop, or any kind of modem even in the building. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Next is Kelly Shipley.
Kelly Shipley, 91905 Ridge Road, Warrenton, Oregon. Also regarding elections, yeah, the modem, they call it a machine, but it's actually a ballot scanning computer, which can apparently be programmed. I don't know, but it seems to have hooked up so it could report to the state Secretary of State. It's not supposed to do that. It's only supposed to count votes. But it can also do other things like make projections as to who's going to win. Why would it do that unless it's going to do something to change the votes? Don't trust it. But there's lots of other possibilities for fraud in our election system when you have observers who are told to stand back so far away that they can't see what's going on. That was one of the assurances that the clerk gave you guys on that workshop you did last week after we presented our concerns. And there was like half a dozen of us that gave concerns about the elections, and it seems like nothing was asked. Like, I don't know, you guys didn't seem like you really cared that much. So we have these concerns about not being able to make sure that there's no fraud happening in our election. When you leave the door open for fraud, even if our clerk isn't committing any fraud, you leave the door open for fraud to happen later on. You guys got to take care of this. There's, when you have different parties working with the election, with the ballots, but they're not opposing parties, it's like having the fox guard the hen house. And, you know, there's too many ways for fraud to be committed. A lot from when ballots are sent out and returned to the post office, and they can be taken from the post office, or they're brought back to here, and then they can be taken from here. They should be destroyed as soon as the postman picks them up out of a returned ballot box. They should be rendered unusable right then and there, so they can't be used for fraud, but they're not.
All right, thanks, Kelly. Next is Virginia Hall. You want to? Okay. Gotcha. Can't hear you if you're not talking in the microphone.
Virginia Hall, 92192 Clover Road, Astoria. When those doors are closed, we can't even hear what's going on in here. There's a machine that'll be probably on this very table, almost in this location, and then there's 2 sets of what are called counting boards with 2 people from maybe opposing parties, but probably not, working at each one to open the ballots. Okay? Our concern is that we're being marginalized, and it doesn't look like anybody really cares whether or not we can tell what's going on. And there isn't any reason why, at the minimum, those doors couldn't be opened. The county elections departments are taking advantage of the COVID rules that were set up a couple years ago to keep observers from having meaningful access to what's going on. And I would like to address the county clerk's statement that the voter rolls are being maintained. We found 75 instances of people voting from the wrong address, having moved, or being dead, and still getting a ballot. And those kind of things, I'm sure that Tracy's doing everything that she can to minimize that, but it's not working the way that the Secretary of State is setting it up to work.
Yep, thank you, Virginia. We did have an update from County Clerk Tracy Kravenko during our work session, and she did talk about voter registration. They do work very hard on doing that on a daily basis to make sure that the voter rolls are clean, and we do take election integrity extremely seriously. Kelly, you might scoff at that, but it's very true, and I think that we want secure elections, and we want transparency. So, thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is consent calendar. Anybody have anything on the consent calendar?
We have a hand.
Oh, we have a hand up. I'm sorry. Is this another item, business for the public?
It was in response to what has already been said.
Okay. Can I have you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name's Anita Dotson, and I live at 34662 Highway 26, Seaside, Oregon. And I also was witness to the election clerk rummaging through her personal items in her bag and trying to find that device that she couldn't locate. And I was very concerned about that because as far as I was aware of, this was not something that would be allowed. Sorry about my dog. So I am kind of concerned about that. I'm concerned about our elections being transparent. I think that there has not been enough discussions with the commissioners, and I do really, really honestly appreciate all of your service. This is not an easy job, especially right now in what's going on in our country, but we need to be transparent. And we need to make sure that our elections are safe for everyone. It doesn't matter. I'm bipartisan on this. It doesn't matter if it was who has a concern about their election. So I just want you to really consider what our group is coming before you for. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. Any other business from the public? I don't see any other hands raised, so we'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the consent calendar?
Mr. Chair, I would move adoption of the consent calendar as listed on the agenda.
Second.
Move a second to approve the consent calendar as presented. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to Commissioner Liaison Reports. We'll start with Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. It's my joy to have participated today in the Community Leaders Forestry Tour, and I have the name tag to prove it. Development Director Henriksen was on the tour. There was a good community contingent. What we were looking at was how the silviculture has been adapted so that the health of the planet as well as the health of the economy is reflected in the forestry practices here in Clatsop County. Any day in the woods is a good day. It was a good day in the woods. There was no rain. We were fortunate today. It was a great educational experience. My hope is because Kevin Leahy doesn't have nearly enough things to do, that we can have similar tours. That's a joke for any of you who know Kevin. He never stops moving. He never stops achieving. Thank you, Kevin. But we were talking about, would it be possible to have not only a forestry tour, but a fishing tour, an agriculture tour, and a manufacturing tour? Because how can we explain what's happening in Clatsop County so that we can have a healthy planet and a healthy economy with a workforce of community members who are well served? That's my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. It's so good to have you here in person. Commissioner Banks.
I want to thank you for going. It was wonderful to have a colleague on that tour and a trusted colleague on that tour, and I appreciate it. It was one of those moments where I was really sad that I couldn't be there also. And it's where we run into having full-time jobs, and sometimes you have to weigh whether or not you're teaching geometry or going on a forestry tour with some people that you absolutely adore. But again, and she's got mud on her clothes, I'm very impressed. But I had a 4-H extension liaison meeting last night, and it was just a wonderful time for me to sit and listen to everything that's going on in our county in regards to promoting and educating in natural resources, but also in agriculture and other extension items. And it's just kind of wonderful to just sit and listen. I was at the Warrenton soccer fields, so you can only imagine the rain pouring down on my head while I'm huddled over my phone. But I appreciate everybody having grace for me to just, try to be two places at once. Happily, my husband returned today from hopefully the last fire of our season.
Hopefully so.
Fingers crossed. And then the progress in the MOU with our Fair Board. I'm really excited about that. Hopefully everything turns out how everyone hopes it's going to be, which is where the Fair Board can retain their actions and their identity, and the fairgrounds can grow and prosper, and they can also kind of be relieved of any excess administrative and executive work. I feel like our county manager is amazing at his administrative and executive work, so I think that this is going to be a good marriage. But that's it for now.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Banks. Commissioner Webb?
I'm going to ask for a pass this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Webb. It's good to have you with us. Just two items. I know that Commissioner Toyoka attended the House Force or the Housing Task Force meeting today, and then I'll be attending the CREST meeting tomorrow that we have at noon. County Manager Boone.
He keeps trying to promote you.
Thank you, Chair Coelho, members of the board. I'll be really quick. Anthony Pope, County Council,
Yeah, welcome.
and thank him for joining us, showing up Monday and coming in Tuesday, and here we are Wednesday, so it's all good. So, thank you.
Coming in hot.
And then the other is that, as I've shared with the board, we will be recruiting for a couple of our director level positions, one being HR director and one for finance manager. And so we'll also be recruiting for a fair manager. So we'll have three significant recruitments out pretty soon. So, and that's all I have. Thank you, board.
Thank you, County Manager. Yes, and Anthony, we're so glad to have you aboard, and anxious to have your family move here and get settled in, so welcome.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question of you, County Manager? Yeah. In the Friday updates, if you would be so kind to let us know when the open dates for those positions are.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Banks. No other items on our liaison report, so we'll move on to the business agenda at this time. And first item is the WCT Marine and Construction Incorporated Enterprise Zone Agreement on page 35, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Monica Steele, our Assistant County Manager.
Thank you, Commissioners. Monica Steele, Assistant County Manager. So this evening, we bring before you the consideration of the agreement with WCT Marine and Construction for a long-term rural enterprise zone. On October 6th, Cedar came before you, Kevin Leahy, along with Melanie Olson and the team from WCT as well as HIAC, to provide a refresher training for elected officials of the four participating agencies, which are the City of Astoria, the City of Warrenton, the Port of Astoria, and Clatsop County. And the intent of the refresher was just to provide information regarding the project investment, the impacts of the enterprise zone as a whole, and then just be able to answer any questions that anybody might have. We did record it and sent out the information for those who might not have been able to be available as well, and Kevin provided that information to everybody. So with the aid of tax incentives, the four enterprise zone sponsors would be getting an investment of approximately $35 million to develop a 34-acre shipyard at the Tongue Point facility. And this would include the purchase of a high-capacity mobile all-electric, which I think is an important thing to highlight, mobile lift. Following the approval of the four participating agencies, we would then bring before the board a formal resolution to ratify the tax exemption. But at this point in time, we're just bringing before you a resolution to ratify the agreement. The requirements of the long-term rule include the initial investment as well as the hiring of several employees, which WCT will be able to do. And the overall estimated impact to just Clatsop County in regards to the tax revenue abatement over this 15-year period is approximately $484,100. But there's significant investment being made in both the people of our community as well as the infrastructure. I am here to answer any questions you all might have.
Any questions for our Assistant County Manager?
And I would also just like to note that WCT and HIAC are in the audience, and Melanie Olson of Business Oregon and Kevin Leahy of Cedar are also on virtual.
Okay.
I'll defer to Commissioner Webb. Her hand is up.
Commissioner Webb.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie, Monica, and Melanie. And thank you, Kevin, for the really wonderful little tutorial you gave us. I've been dealing with enterprise zone issues for 50 years since I worked for the federal government. And it's pretty exciting to see over the last couple of years the way we have been able to implement this program. I would love to be able to have some kind of a tour of Tongue Point put together for county commissioners soon. There has been an enormous amount of work put into dealing with various state agencies, all the way from a visit that I made to Coast Guard headquarters in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, when we were afraid that the fast cutters were going to get stolen by Washington State, all the way to DSL cleaning up some of the small parcels that were needed for Burgerson expansion. This is probably the most exciting, to my mind, economic development area of Clatsop County right now. And it's off the beaten path, so we don't get to see it very often. But it's an awful lot of really good work in partnership with the city of Astoria and the port of Astoria and the county and the states and the feds. It's a very exciting area. And I think it would be real cool if we could go out and see some of the exciting stuff that's going on the entire Tongue Point Peninsula. It's everything from wonderful workforce training, which I support through our work on the Northwest Oregon Works Board, but also for small private investments, large private investments. The Coast Guard presence is very exciting. And we've even, of course, got some housing development going out there if we can ever solve the rights of way issues with the DSL. But it's a very exciting area. These are terrific jobs. They're highly skilled, well-paying jobs. And I think it's the essence of what a good enterprise zone policy ought to be about. And I thank all of the people who have worked hard to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Webb. Very well said. And I love the idea of a commissioner field trip out to Tongue Point here. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. Well, we were there at the beginning, some of us, and I love Commissioner Webb's suggestion that we get to see where you are to date and keep us coming back. I want to thank you for your service to this area. You have helped us operate as a team in a way where we have really high-level achievement thanks to this great project, and you have worked tirelessly. I bet you had a full head of hair that was, yes, before you started on. You know what? Well done. Well done. Thank you for giving all of us a chance to support your wonderful effort. And the rewards for the industry and for the area, nationally, internationally, just magnificent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very good. Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Banks.
When I first moved here 14 years ago, wow, time flies, a conversation has always been that deep natural port that's at Tongue Point and what that area should be used for, that it should be used, or, I mean, it's been coffee conversation in our tiny community for a really long time. And it's nice to see that someone's going to use it and someone's going to do something productive and helpful for our community and provide jobs. And so it's neat to see that coffee conversation finally evolving into something that, and if you've never been to coffee in Napa, you should try it. But it's neat to see something coming to fruition and being utilized for its natural resource that it is. So thank you.
Yep, I agree with everything that's been said. I know that Bob Dorn with Hayek Maritime is here. Would you like to say something, Bob? Great.
Mr. Chair, one more thing. Melanie Olson, you're not in the room, but you have been such an integral part of all of this, and I just want to call you out specifically for praise and acknowledgement tonight. You and Kevin, certainly, and others, you've been tireless on this and so effective. Thank you very much.
I agree. When, there's something good happening in Clatsop County, Melanie Olson and Business Oregon have been a part of it often, and also Kevin Leahy with Cedar done a fantastic job in building up our businesses all over the community. So thanks for all your help in getting this put together. Any other comments that anyone would like to make at this time? Okay.
Monica, good job.
Yes, so at this time, we just ask the board adopt the resolution in order approving the enterprise zone agreement between WCT Marine and Construction Incorporated and Clatsop County.
Mr. Chair, I would move, as the Assistant County Manager has said, that we adopt the resolution in order approving the enterprise zone agreement between WCT Marine and Construction, Inc. and Clatsop County.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the resolution in order approving the enterprise zone agreement between WCT Marine and Construction Incorporated and Clatsop County. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
It's a goosebump moment, isn't it? Isn't it just?
Thank you, Melanie. Okay, next item is, I said item 8. It's actually item 20, isn't it? Or is it item 8?
Item 8.
Okay, it is item 8. Item 8, Project Turnkey 2.0, Purchase Sale Agreement, Columbia Inn. I'll turn this over to our county manager.
Thank you, Chair Quaylen, members of the board. Back in 2020, the Oregon Legislature allocated $65 million for what became Project Turnkey 1.0, and it was a project that came about to really transition vacant or underutilized motels into emergency shelters. This was coming off of COVID-19 and of the wildfires, and just the fact that many communities are fighting homelessness issues. And so out of that first tranche of $65 million, there were 19 new shelters in 13 counties created, which was approximately 865 new shelter units. In 2022, the Oregon Legislature expanded the program with another $50 million with the goal of adding another 10 properties for this conversion. Clatsop County applied for Turnkey 1.0. Was not successful. We applied for Turnkey 2.0, and we were successful. We were successful in a grant application that did not identify a specific property and did not identify an operator. So the process after we were selected was to work with a broker to identify a suitable property. The broker reached out to a number of hoteliers, and one hotelier was interested in this conversion. And that is the Columbia Inn here in Astoria. So the process for us and the role for the county is that we would be the owner of the property. The state, through Project Turnkey, will be purchasing the property, and then there'll be a nonprofit that will be operating services that would be provided through the property. And so this is a very collaborative effort that our work really begins now. Because we didn't have a identified property and because we didn't have an operator, we didn't have an operations plan. So the due diligence process will be including working with our nonprofit providers to identify an operator and to develop the operations plan, which includes funding. So there's going to be a lot of work that goes on through this diligence period. What I will say is this PSA just starts that process. This is a non-binding PSA. If Oregon Community Foundation, through their diligence process on the property, deems it for any reason to not be suitable, then the project will not go forward. If the county has any concerns as we go through diligence, the project will not go forward. So it is going to take a lot of stars to still align for this to move forward, but this is the first step, and I think it's an important step. We did discuss this with the city of Astoria, with Mayor Jones and with City Manager Paul Benoit, as soon as we found out that this was a possibility. They are supportive. There will be a community education piece to this as part of the diligence process, but we're going to time that to really coincide after we get an assessment of the property itself, because we need to make sure that OCF feels comfortable with the purchase potential before we engage very widely on it. What I wouldn't want to have happen is we engage and then it turns out for some reason the property doesn't go through. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but I find this to be a very hopeful step, and I think most of us find additional bed space to be one of the critical areas that needs to be addressed. And the fact that the state is willing to partner with us, and the fact that we have capable, passionate nonprofits who are willing to partner with us makes this possible. So what staff is asking is that your board authorize the county manager to sign the purchase and sale agreement for the Columbia Inn. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, County Manager. Any questions, comments?
May I?
Yes, Commissioner Thompson?
Well, Clatsop County has not only the highest homeless rate in the state, it has, I think, one of the thinnest administrative layers. So I want to appreciate, I want to call it the grindingly difficult job of navigating the funding process, because other counties have more adequate staff to do this. They don't have to take their top 2 staffers and dedicate themselves to completing applications. We do. Thank you for doing that. It's onerous work, not to mention all of the other tasks that you have that are high-level priority to keep us functioning. Nevertheless, because that's required, that's what you've done. What this does is put us on the map so that the next time we go back to secure more adequate funding for more projects, we have a track record, a successful track record, because I'm assuming this deal is going to work. And I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Thompson. Commissioner Banks?
Mayor Balancey recently discussed our high homeless rate, and as you stated, we are the highest in the state, and I was looking at the screenshot. We're at close to 23%, 23 per thousand, and the near closest county to us is Josephine County. But by just, I think, beginning this conversation and putting ourselves on the map, hopefully we will be able to start requesting any legislative funding in the next legislative session. And so I feel like that this is just the beginning of the ball rolling, and I am so grateful that we tried for round 2.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Banks. Commissioner Webb, did you have anything you'd like to say at this time? Okay. Well, this is certainly an exciting, promising development, and a significant one at that. It's a great location. We have the support of the city of Astoria, and certainly it's the first step in addressing a big issue in Clatsop County. So there's a lot of steps to go, but this is the big first one. So exciting, and are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move to authorize the county manager to sign the purchase sale agreement for the Columbia Inn.
Second.
Moved and seconded to authorize the county manager to sign the purchase sale agreement for the Columbia Inn. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. And again, echo all of the sentiments about the work done by the county manager and staff and assistant county manager on this. This is a big lift, but certainly a worthy one, and so thanks for all your efforts. And that's all of the agenda business items. Do we have anything for the good of the order this evening?
Okay. Bring the bubbly.